What's going on, YouTube? Happy New Year. It is officially 2019. Just have a quick look here at my latest layout, although I've got two underway that are going to be pretty similar. And we're going to take a look at one of them now. This is for a trade to 100 little cars. You can kind of see the edge of it there. It's a smaller layout, and it's just going to be a little garage or lube shop. And I just have it out because I'm taking some photos of some of my castings. But I wanted to show you guys this. It's not done. It's probably 65% done. There's still quite a bit to do. Mostly like the finer detail stuff. I do need to make a base for the structure. It can't sit on this. You can see how uneven it is. I'm just not digging that. Plus, as you can see, the lot is pretty tore up, which is the look I was going for, so I'm happy with that. But it runs all the way into the garage, so the garage floor needs to be different from the lot. Plus, I kind of want a little bit of a sidewalk up against the building. So I had the foam board painted. If you guys watched the last couple of videos, you can see it, but it warped really bad. So I bought some wood today. I'm going to make it out of wood, and I'll glue it down and I'll let it dry real good before I paint it. Anyways, so this is it. It's 9 by 12, so it's fairly small, but it should give him a good effect, or just a good little background for taking photographs. I also made these little car pedestals, and I made those for my layout. My layout is similar to this, except for the lot itself isn't quite this rough. It's pretty rough, but it's not this bad. And it's also larger. I mean, it's not the 4 square feet that I've been doing with the overpass layout and the river layout, but it is larger than this one here. So I have this pedestal here, and then I've got this one over here, which is just a flat one that elevates the car. Like if you go to the car dealership, almost all major car dealerships have these. They'll have them up at the street. They'll have like one of their featured cars on it, elevated so that when you drive by it, you can see it. So those were a little side project. They're pretty easy to make. I just made them out of, well, as you can see, craft sticks and glue. They're not the best. I think I'm going to go over it in a gloss black, because these are typically metal. So I was trying to replicate that, and they're typically just made out of like metal rod. They usually don't have panels this wide on them. I did Google some photo references, and they look similar. I think these will work, but because I don't think anybody actually makes these in this scale. So if you have if you have a custom layout, or if you have a train layout with a car dealership on it, you'd probably have to scratch make these, which is what I did. And that's one thing about this layout and the other one that I'm doing, is that they are the first layouts that I've done that are completely scratch built from basically from the ground up. I've never done buildings before, so this is my first building. I've got a little bit more to do on that. The power lines, I think I might have him run the power lines. I'll send him the thread to do it. But on mine, I got the right side done, so I got the top two and the bottom one. And it's so time consuming, it's unbelievable. Because to try to get it to sag, you know, you want 1 foot of scale sag, which is incredibly hard to do. So mine aren't going to have a lot of sag, but they still look really good. But my whole thing is, if I do put them on here and then something happens in transit where one of these pops off, it's going to be more of a pain for him. You know, that's like the biggest concern that I have, is getting this shipped over to him in one piece. I was going to send these separate and have him install them, but I got to thinking about it and I'm like, I need to put them in because there's going to be ground cover. You know, you got to put ground cover on them. And that's the other thing, is if one of these pops off and tears up that ground, he's going to have a nice little hole there. Ooh, see some of that static grass. Didn't quite get glued down enough. So I'll run a vacuum over this just to pull up all that excess. Here actually is a perfect example. So you can see right here, I had this one glued down with Gorilla wood glue, and the glue bonds to the cement no problem, but it doesn't like these, is the plastic. It just doesn't bond to the plastic. So these other two are okay because they're also being held on by grout. So I had to move this one over here, and instead of using glue, I used the Dow Corning 732 silicone. And I think the silicone will bond to that plastic. I think it'll bite the plastic a lot harder. But I got to figure out what to do with that base, because there's not going to be any ground cover back here. So, and that's the other thing, is this lot is made of actual real cement. And I was going for a really beat up, you know, 50 or 60-year-old lot that hasn't been maintained. That was the look that I was going for, and I feel like I accomplished it pretty well. I hope he likes it. That, by the way, was that was a very interesting process to get this effect. It took some trial and error, and it took some patience. My first attempt, I just mixed the cement and tried the application that way, because I've done that in the past on a layout, and I got a really good result with it. And I actually used the same exact cement. It's from, my dad has a 5-gallon pail in his shed, and I was over there for Christmas, and because that's where I got it from last time, this past summer when I did the other layout. So when I was over there, I asked him if I could have another small bag, and so it came from the same place, but I just couldn't get the smooth application that I was looking for. So plan B was to apply it in the same manner that I apply the dirt, which is basically out of a salt shaker. So I take the powdered cement put it in a little salt shaker, and then I spread it out on the layout. I did not put any glue down. I just spread it out because my hope was that that once I wet it, that it would activate the cement and it would cure, but that's not the case. If you do that, a lot of it will cure, but a lot of the loose stuff will remain loose. And so what I did is I did exactly with this what I would do with the dirt, which is saturate it in isopropyl alcohol so that it's completely soaked, and then glue it with I'd say 1 part glue, 3 parts water, but you have to saturate it in the alcohol in order for the glue to penetrate. If you don't do that, the glue will land on top of the powder and it'll bead up and it'll create a little crater. And it's a horrible looking result. So you have to saturate the powder in order for all the glue to penetrate. But I think it's a pretty good result. I mean, you can see it's all down, like there's nothing loose. Same thing here. You know, some of the static grass is loose. I need to, you can see some of it comes up on my finger. I just need to run the vacuum and get all that excess loose stuff up. Or the other option is I could glue it all down, because like I've got all of the coarse grass is all glued down nice and firm. It's just basically sponge, and when you glue it down the way I glue it down, it goes from a soft consistency to a really firm consistency, but it looks the same. It just feels a lot different. All right, so what else did I want to touch on? So the building, it's my first attempt, so it's not a great building, but it's not the worst that I've seen. But I want the building to look old and unmaintained and run down, just like the lot. So I'm hoping that I know, but you know, with what I send to him with this layout base here and then that building, I know he'll take his artistic ability, which his skill set is different than mine. He's basically a painter. He does amazing paintings. So he'll paint graffiti or a mural or whatever, however he wants to decorate it. I know he has plans, but my hope was that this will just allow him a nice little backdrop for photographs, because he does customs, and he does weathered customs. He does some really nice, nicely finished customs too, but most of what he does is weathered stuff that's a little bit roached out. It looks awesome, but I was trying to do a layout that I felt would suit his style a little bit better, which is why I went for the really rough parking lot instead of the really clean, smooth one. Plus, if you look at the roads I've done, this is just a drywall spackle, and then it's painted, and it's not a great result. For a big layout like the river layout, it's fine, but for a small layout like this, where it's going to be much more intimate, your photos are going to be much more close up. I wanted to try to get something that looked a little bit more realistic. So anyways, let's take a look at a few cars on this layout. We'll start with this Mazda. I have just a couple of TLVs and then a couple of Kyosho's. And this is mainly just to kind of test shot the layout more than anything else. So here's the Mazda Luce. See, and I think even the nicer cars I feel like look pretty good on the layout. I think the weathered cars will probably look better. Here's one of my favorite cars, this Toyota Carina from Tomica Limited Vintage. Take a look at this Konami Toyota Starlet. It's always hard keeping everything scaled to the cars, you know, like all the layouts that I've built, I've probably built around 20 by now. You know, the first 15 of them, I used the gravel that Hobby Lobby provides for the dioramas, and it's just the same consistency all throughout, same color. So when you apply it, it doesn't look real at all because, you know, the earth is full of different colors, different shades, different textures. And so I've really tried to evolve that with a lot of the videos that I've watched. And even just in the brown, you know, the dirt, trying to use a couple of different colors of dirt. Here's a cool one. This is the Toyota Celica. This one looks better on this layout than I thought it would. Toyota Celica GT. From Aoshima. And it actually rolls on the layout. That's the other thing that kind of surprised me. And for all you European fans, we'll take a look at a Ferrari 308. See, I'm kind of skeptical about the telephone poles too. They look great on the layout, but they really make it a hassle for doing photographs and video. And this one doesn't even have the power lines run yet. And, you know, everything is up high. Like all the details that you want to see are up high, so they're not going to be in these down low shots. So it almost makes you wonder, you know, is it even worth having them? But I think by the time I get the fence done and the building, I think that the power lines will make a lot of sense. This car, actually, I already looked at on the layout and thought it looked really good. This is the Subaru Legacy. This one is also from Tomica Limited Vintage. I love Tomica Limited Vintage. They make some great stuff. Very durable stuff too, for the amount of detail that they have. I dropped one on a tile floor one time. Didn't even so much as scratch. Had that been an M2, it would have blown up. Here's a little Kyosho Mazda. The Toy Pimp just sold one of these in white. I didn't get to it in time. I was bummed out. I really would like to have that in a lighter color. Some Mazda. Wow, that looks good. I should use that for the thumbnail. Or that. That's the other thing. I have to make a garage door. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work. It's not going to be a practical garage door. It's just going to be a static display. So I don't know how that's going to work. Man, this Mazda looks killer on this layout. That looks really good. Another car that I thought looked really good on the layout is this old car that I did quite a while ago. And then it just kind of got brushed aside and I haven't looked at it in a long time. But this is the M2 Nissan Skyline. That I weathered. See, this is more the type of stuff that he does. Although his are much nicer than this one. And so I think this lot better suits cars like this. That looks really good too. This one looked pretty good on the layout too. Another car I haven't really looked at in a long time. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up. So, thank you everybody for checking out the video. Please leave your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your comments and feedback. Maybe suggestions that you might have. And, yeah, here's to a bright 2019. Hopefully all of our collections continue to improve with the new year. Once One thing I would definitely recommend to all you that are watching this is to broaden your horizons. If you don't already collect Kyosho and Tomoka Limited Vintage, you should look into it. It's a very nice die cast and it's very fun to collect. Yes, it's more expensive, but you know, it's relative. Alright, I'll holler at you all at the next diecast video. Or possibly the next layout video. If I have any more updates, I'll keep you updated. Like I said, I got to build the fence for this, so that's going to change the look quite a bit when there's a fence back here. And a few more touch-ups on the building. I've got an awning for the building, and I've got to build a base for the building. So those things will happen. But most of the layout, like the actual ground part of it, is done. I don't think I'm going to do too much more on that. So, like I said, if you have any thoughts or suggestions or constructive criticism, please comment below. And you guys have a good beginning of your year. I'll talk to y'all hopefully pretty soon.